You are now listening to the Grio's Black Podcast Network, Black Culture Amplified.
Hello, you're listening to Harlem and Moscow, an original audio play presented by the Grio Black Podcast Network. Harlem and Moscow is a 6-episode drama with 3 additional companion podcasts. Harlem and Moscow, Red Flags. Harlem and Moscow is based on a true story. Episode 3, When in Moscow, stars Ivy as Langston Hughes, Evan Frazier as Dorothy West, and featuring Nancy Gilliam, Breanna Cosette, and Stephan Rumphorts. I am your narrator, commenter, and teller of tales, Jared Alexander. Last time on Harlem and Moscow. The young writer Dorothy West began to tell her mother of her year-long trip across the sea to make a film in the Soviet Union, although her mother seemed more interested in the men that accompanied her than the film itself. The trip began when Dorothy accepted the invitation from her beau, Henry Lee, a reporter for a black newspaper, and Louise Thompson, a professor and political organizer. After writing home to her father for ship fare, and with a little encouragement from her cousin Helen, Dorothy found herself on a ship with 20 other Harlem Renaissance artists, waiting for none other than Langston Hughes himself to join them. Once everyone was accounted for, the group traveled first by ship, then by train, where Dorothy and Henry Lee had a tense conversation about expectations while abroad. The talk ended with Dorothy storming out of the car and out of the relationship. Luckily, Langston and visual artist Mildred Jones were more than happy to adopt the now unattached Dorothy into their group. And with that, we return to Dorothy's family house, where she can continue her tale of Harlem and Moscow.
You sit down, Mom. I'll get the dishes. Where is Maria? I thought she was here every day to help.
Thanks, honey. I can't be spending all my money on a maid. I knew you'd be home to help your mother. The little ones are out of the house, so now it's time for the rest of your Moscow story. What was so steamy you had to wait for their little ears to leave? And remember, your mom doesn't need to know every little thing.
Even if it has to do with Mr. Langston Hughes?
I can use my imagination for the bits you leave out. I have a feeling the party got a little wilder than you wrote about in your letters. You never were the type to be out every night, but you hardly wrote once you got to Moscow.
The Soviets filled our spare time to the brim with activity.
Activities you apparently didn't want your mother to know about. When you did start to write again in the fall, I sensed a change in you. It no longer felt like you were simply reporting on other people's lives. You were writing about your own.
So much happened in those first few weeks. Some of which you know, some of which I've been nervous to share until now. After we arrived in mid-June, a man from the production company, Meshrapom, led us to the Grand Hotel. I don't think I've ever stayed anywhere as beautiful, except Oak Bluffs, of course. But what is a beach cottage compared to an old hotel built for a czar? They had good food and hot baths almost every day. I didn't want to leave our room, both because of the comforts and because I was scared of getting lost in the city. It was Mill who convinced me to walk a little further every day until we found a little market. We bought a bunch of strawberries from a man with a cart. Since when do you know Russian?
I only know how to say, "Thank you, comrade." I have a feeling we'll be using it a lot.
You don't think he's an official or an actor or something, paid to just stand here?
Dot, just enjoy the strawberries. They're perfect. Here, take a bite.
Ah, fine. That is fresh. Ugh, I think there was a bit of dirt on that one.
Now you've truly got a bit of Russia inside you. See? This is no different than walking through any other city.
That's exactly what I'm afraid of. People are staring. I feel like I'm in a zoo.
Let them look. They're staring because you're beautiful.
They're staring because I have dark skin.
Hello, comrade.
Langston!
Hello, Lang. Strawberry?
Don't mind if I do. What are you two up to on this lovely day?
Strolling the city, spending rubles, looking for Soviet spies.
I only meant the whole interaction felt too pleasant. He even gave us a discount.
I have to write that one down. Dot found the Soviet Union too pleasant for her taste. I would think someone like you would be used to a more pleasant life.
Perhaps around our own people, but not with whites.
Think of them as Russians, not whites. I promise you, the distinction is important.
Dorothy has actually been writing about the less pleasant parts of Moscow as well. She's been writing practically every day since we got here.
Oh, really? I would love to read what you've written sometime, kid.
That would be an honor, Mr. Hughes.
You're still holding on to your misters, comrade. We must work on that. I would love to join your stroll, but I must get home to this. The much-anticipated script, Black and White. The title is a bit on the nose, but that's all right. Russians are very literal. Meshropom asked me to look it over before rehearsals.
I would love to read it.
I promised I would keep it a secret for now. I'll be sure to share my thoughts with you when the time is right. You both ended up in the same room, correct?
Yes.
And how are you liking your arrangement, Dot?
Mill definitely encourages me to explore.
Wonderful. I'll see you back at the hotel. Mildred, Dorothy.
Goodbye.
Bye, Lang. Do you think it's all right that I call him Lang, or should I have gone with Comrade?
Lang is his name to his friends. You're his friend. And his comrade. Although comrades rarely moon over each other.
I was not mooning.
Oh, Langston, I would just love to come back to the hotel with you and read over your shoulder.
That is not how I sounded.
Oh, you're only defensive because you know it's true.
I want to be a writer. I don't think it's so unusual that I would want to spend more time with him and hear his thoughts.
And no one could blame you for the thoughts I'm sure you're thinking. Look at this poster. We should see this show.
We don't even know what it is. There's just a girl in a dress. Hold on. Is that a man dressed as a woman?
Isn't it fantastic?
They do not do this sort of thing in Boston.
Sure they do. They probably just don't invite you.
I get invited to plenty of things.
Well, Dot, won't you accept my invitation to go see a man sing and dance in a dress?
He sings and dances as well?
I should hope so. Or else it wouldn't be a very good show.
My mother would not approve of seeing a show like this in the middle of the day.
Good thing your mother isn't here. Let's go, Dot. And we can call on Comrade Lang later. Tell him everything we saw.
Okay, but you must not tease me in front of him. He already calls me kid.
I promise I won't.
Are you sure you don't mind me dragging you along everywhere? I assumed Henry Lee would be my escort, but now I've dumped that responsibility on you and forced my way between you and Langston to boot.
It's all right. I don't mind sharing. Let's have some fun before they put us to work.
We had an abundance of leisure time. At night, we went out in small groups, with a guide from Meshropom always in tow, but more often than not, Mill and I spent our days together.
If the thought of going to a drag show is a bit much for the prim and proper Dorothy West, she's about to get tested. When her not-so-secret crush, Langston Hughes, knocks on her hotel room door and offers to read her writing.
Come in!
If you insist.
Lang! I'm so sorry. If you're looking for Mill, she'll be back any minute.
I did have a few things for her to type, but I don't mind waiting with you. Please, don't let me interrupt your writing. Is this the story you've been working on?
Yes, something happened the other day and I wanted to write it down.
Do you mind if I have a look?
Not at all. I'm surprised you even asked. Most people would just snatch it. Here.
Charming. A visitor who ate all your butter. I can guess who that is. She did the same thing to me last week. You have quite a few things to say about the currency exchange.
It's ridiculous. The bureaucracy, the waiting, and now inflation. It's practically impossible to send money home. In addition to that, we're visiting as honored guests. Our ration cards are not like those of regular citizens. We get 2 different Caviar ration cards a week. That's absurd. No one needs that many fish eggs. The red is awful anyway.
You think so? I can't stand the black ones myself.
Would you like to trade? I have a small stack I've been accumulating.
Beautiful and resourceful. Thank you, Dot. I understand your frustration. The red tape in Russia has only gotten redder. An inevitable part of the transition this country is going through. Would you mind if I showed you something?
Something you wrote?
No. You'll be able to read plenty later in print. It's something out in the plaza.
Mill is on her way.
We'll likely run into her. Come on.
He offered his arm. I took it and my heart leapt. It had been a while since a man had offered me his arm. Lang and I chatted a bit out as we left the hotel and strolled to the plaza, but my tongue would not listen to my brain, so I stayed quiet. We ended in front of a statue Mill and I had passed dozens of times.
Do you know who this is?
A dead man.
You're not wrong. This is Pushkin. Have you ever read him? He was a poet and he wrote plays as well. But he was also the great-grandson of Abram Petrovich, the Negro of Peter the Great.
There were Negroes in Russia that long ago?
We've been everywhere, kid. It's said Petrovich was kidnapped from Africa as a child and found his way to Peter's court, rising through the ranks and eventually becoming a well-decorated soldier. He even married a duchess. Pushkin started to write a novel about his famous ancestor, but he never finished. Still, with his poems and stories, the country embraced him as the Russian Shakespeare. Pushkin was a great poet in his own right, but there have been countless Russian poets. It was his Negro blood that set him apart and made his story different, better. Think of it. An entire country that sees Negroes as noble and artistic and worthy of a statue in the center of Moscow. That is what I think of when I think of the Soviet Union fighting for us. When was the last time a white in America erected a statue of someone with Negro blood? If Russians believed in our revolution, nothing can stop us.
You make it all sound so good.
That's my job. I see a familiar face. Hey, Mill.
Hey, Lang. Fancy seeing you here. How did you get Dot to leave her room?
He promised we'd meet you on the way.
I hope I didn't keep you waiting too long. I had to pop over to grab...
Butter. Seems we have a repeat offender if Dorothy's pages can be believed.
You finally showed Lang your pages? So, what's the verdict?
The kid can write. No doubt about that. I think she'd make a damn good editor as well. For someone who doesn't talk much, you sure take your time crafting your stories, don't you? I can see the care you put into them.
Thank you. You have no idea what that means to me.
I only speak the truth. I have to go, so I will leave you two ladies to admire Pushkin. Mill, I have a few things I could use typed up when you have time.
I heard we start rehearsal in a few days, so you better get it to me quick.
I'll send the papers to your room tonight. How about we get together? All three of us. After Your first rehearsal? You can tell me all about it, and I can tell you about the script. Perhaps over champagne? Hide the butter when you get to your room.
Mill, don't look at me like that.
Oh, Lang, you have no idea what that means to me.
Let's go.
Yes, Lang, let's go.
After 3 weeks of exploring the city, Louise let us know that we would finally be meeting our esteemed director, Carl Junghans, who traveled from Germany for the project. It was obvious by now that there was some delay in production. We suspected it had to do with the script, but Lang never let on. The night we were to meet Junghans, I had just arrived at the lobby, where Mildred and Louise were having a cup of tea together.
That's a pretty dress, Dot. The cream color looks lovely on you.
Thank you, Mill. I thought it was silly to pack something this fine, but now I'm glad I did. I want to make a good impression on the director.
And you think a nice dress will do that?
I want him to know I'm a serious actress. I'm not here to just gallivant all around town. I heard Ted didn't get in until 4 a.m. this morning.
I heard Henry Lee didn't come home at all.
What do those boys do all night?
Is that a rhetorical question?
You're teasing me again, Mill.
Lang isn't here, so I'm allowed.
The men are doing what the men always do when they're abroad. White women.
Henry Lee doesn't even like white women.
Because they never liked him.
It's not like there are many brown-skinned girls running around Russia.
There are plenty of eligible women in our group.
Let's put it this way. A Negro doesn't sail halfway across the world to take another Negro out on a date. Wayland's already talking about marrying a Russian girl.
Wayland didn't deal in coal before this trip, so that's no surprise.
And what are the women supposed to do while we're here?
The women are doing the same thing. They just have the decency to not go to the bar beating their gums about all the pink toes they've had in their beds. Finish your tea, Mill. It's about time we head to the party.
Wait, I don't see Lang. Is he not coming with us?
He's still with the script tonight. Try not to look so disappointed, Dot. Come on.
We all gathered in the lobby, dressed to the tens. We strutted out as if we were the mayors of Moscow ourselves. We laughed loudly and sang songs on the street. I could tell we were all becoming more comfortable in the city, not just me. Next thing I knew, we were at Carl Junghans' hotel. He introduced himself.
Hello, I am Carl Junghans. My English is not so good, my Russian even worse. My Spanish is improving, but I know film, yeah? Tomorrow we rehearse. Tonight we party.
He also brought along...
I'm James, Mr. Junghans' translator and wrangler. He welcomes you and asks that you all make yourself at home here.
They had spared even less expense for the director. He was listening to jazz on his own personal record player. He had every type of caviar, bottles of vodka. Don't worry, I wasn't drinking liquor, but Junghans was.
To the revolution. Prost. I confess, you Africans are not what was expected. Not what was promised.
Negroes, Junghans. We're Americans, not African.
Yeah, still. Most of you are, gemischtrassig.
In English, mixed race.
Perhaps a few, but this is how many Negroes look in America.
It's disappointing all the same. On film, contrast with black skin is more shocking. If only you all looked like her. Yeah, you in the corner. Wie heißt du?
What is your name?
Me? I'm Dorothy, sir. Dorothy West.
No, sir. We are comrades, yeah?
Yes, Comrade Carl, sir.
I like this one. And her skin, so dark. A real African. Oh, this song. Dorothy, do you dance?
Yes, when I'm in the mood.
Wunderbar. Here, clear a space, everyone. There, plenty of room.
Sir, Comrade, I'm not sure I know the step.
All Africans have the rhythm in their blood, yeah? Dance, comrade. Dance for me.
I would rather not. I'm enjoying myself and
I am Karl Junghans, and you will dance for me. Oh, no. Please, don't cry. Wait! Oh, Scheiße!
In English, shit.
Next time on Harlem and Moscow, Episode 4, Russian Reality Check.
They don't let Negroes sit in the same part of the train as whites, but the Soviets think they spend their nights dancing together.
You can leave other people's opinions behind. You should try it.
How are we supposed to make a world-class film with a bunch of amateurs?
to tell the truth, there was a proposal on the trip. In fact, there were two.
Now we...
I don't need to hear nothing about my baby lying down with anybody.
Who's that out on the road?
Comrades! We've been screwed.
Thank you for listening to Harlem and Moscow, an original audio play presented by the Griot Black Podcast Network. Harlem and Moscow was written by Alle Mims and directed by Aries Harper and Regina Griffin. Sam Riddell is the producer and sound designer. Our audio engineers are Aaron Reppert and Carrie Durham, with music by Transitions. We'd like to thank our amazing cast: J. Ivy as Langston Hughes, Evan Frazier as Dorothy West, Nancy Gilliam as Rachel West, Breanna Cosette as Mildred Jones, Susaye Lawson as Louise Thompson, Stephan Rumphorts as Carl Junghans, and Broderick Clavery as James the Translator. Harlem and Moscow continues with Episode 4, Russian Reality Check. But first, if you're dying for more on the real story and the real people, check out our companion podcast, Harlem and Moscow, Red Flags. Harlem and Moscow is such a powerful story that few people know about. Please rate, review, share, and tell a friend about this important adventure in Black history.